The idea of playing as the monsters instead of fighting them has been around for a while, but Voidling Bound is one of the few games that actually commits to it hard enough that it really stops feeling like a gimmick and starts feeling like the whole point. In this game you play as a space wrangler. You're on a mission to cleanse alien planets overrun by spreading corruption. And of course, instead of doing that yourself with guns, you bond with creatures called Voidlings and fight as them directly, controlling them in third person through swarms of enemies, bosses, and increasingly brutal challenges across quite diverse alien worlds. Of course, the absolute bonkers build possibilities here is the standout feature. A quick note before going further. This video is sponsored by the developer. It does not change what I think. It is a gesture of compensation for my work involved. And this video covers the full release version. So let's take a look at the actual gameplay loop of this game. It is pretty satisfying. You take a Voidling out into a level, clear enemies, complete objectives, collect resources, eggs and research points, and then come back to your base and spend all of this on upgrading things. You train your creatures to higher levels, evolve them down branching paths, breed them together to combine traits, and then hatch new eggs to discover species you haven't seen yet. Then you go back out. And whatever you unlocked actually changes how the next run feels. That back and forth between going out and coming back to upgrade things has a good rhythm to it. And because each creature plays so differently, unlocking a new one really feels like a new experience. The game has 9 base Voidling species in the game, and through evolution, those 9 branch out into 62 different species choices, with over 47 distinct evolution variations across the whole roster. Every species has its own mutation tree paths, tied to different elements, which is what determines your creature's abilities, combat role and ultimate attack. Some of your creatures end up as pure aggressive melee machines, others hover and attack from range, others burrow underground to dodge damage and surprise enemies from below. The evolution trees push them even further apart, and the game claims 775 different possible configurations in the gene collection system, which may sound like marketing speech until you actually start seeing how many variables are in play. Breeding, splicing, gene modules, the catalysts, all of this stuff is not visual changes. The game very much allows you to build toward something specific across multiple sessions, so the sense of progression that holds up over time is really strong in this game. The Abyss mode sits on top of all of that as a separate challenge, where you push through floors of increasingly brutal enemies. You can choose after each victory whether to keep going for better rewards. If you go deep enough, you eventually get catalysts, special items that push one stat to an extreme while cutting another hard. For example, one gives 400% attack power, but removes all elemental damage. These are the kind of items that force you to actually rethink a build. The game does not really support slot in and forget, so finding a creature setup that genuinely takes advantage of one is one of the more satisfying things in the game. Visually and performance-wise, the game looks and runs well. You have these bright and vibrant alien environments, with an impressive variety between biomes. And I want to mention, the creatures have real personality in how they move and attack, and the overall art style hits that colorful but not too childish tone. I think it's not that easy to pull this off, without the game feeling either too serious or too cartoony. The combat itself is ability based, with each creature running on a set of moves across multiple cooldowns. A primary attack, your secondary ability, a defensive skill, and an ultimate. You can dodge, parry, and block incoming attacks, which matters more as enemies get more aggressive, and the game is designed to encourage you to actually move and position. Now, how all of this is in practice depends entirely on which creature you're using, because as I mentioned earlier, a fast, hovering creature that builds damage by staying airborne plays nothing like a slow, heavy one that needs to get in close, so the learning curve for each creature also is real. Now, as for some of the game's downsides, the healing mid-run can be inconsistent, depending on which creature you're using, and some Voidlings have no obvious recovery option. This means heading into harder floors already low on health, with no clear way to fix it, until you understand the specific build better. And of course the number of systems stacked on top of each other. The breeding, splicing, gene modules, the evolution trees, catalysts, this is a lot to manage. So the players who find creature collection games too shallow in the combat are probably going to get a lot out of this, because the moment-to-moment fighting has real weight to it, and the actual difference between creatures is significant enough that it keeps things fresh over many hours.